right, man. Well, welcome to the Mr. Bill podcast. Glad that we were able to make this happen
Yeah,
eventually.
yeah. Thanks for having me on.
You said you were sick last week. What happened?
Yeah. I don't know, because I've been visiting some people because I haven't had a chance to visit any friends or family in a while. So had some friends come out to Mexico City 2 weeks ago, two weekends ago, and caught something during that. And then I got sick, got better, went to visit family last week. So didn't pick up anything that time, hopefully.
Nice.
So far, so good.
True. So you're probably like one of the lesser known people I've had on the podcast, or maybe not so much now that you like your Instagram is kind of popping off and stuff. But I feel like it was only a few months ago, or maybe a year ago, that you like won this contest that I put together with Splice, and I feel like at that point you had like not that many followers, and then like a few months after that, I was like, oh, this dude's making like crazy Instagram videos about cool shit and getting like a ton of engagement. That's great to see.
Yeah,
So,
that was like a year and a couple months ago. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, so maybe a good place to start would just be like telling people who you are, what you do, what your like sort of journey has been, etc.
Yeah. So my name is Brendan. I go by Undulae. I make electronic music. I've been doing this for a long ass time, like since I started producing electronic music when I was like 12.
How old are you now?
I'm 29. I had to think about that. Yeah, 29.
Not true.
Yeah. So I've been doing it for like, almost 18 years, 17, 18 years now at this point. But yeah, like I had never really taken the like kind of social growth marketing side of it very seriously at all. I was just like, I don't know. I just said, I want to make music. If anything happens with it, great. If not, whatever. And I kind of like operated in the freelance realm for a bit, doing like, I don't know, commercial music gigs for a while, and like sound design for like short films and commercials and stuff like that. But about 2 years ago, a little more than 2 years ago at this point, I was working at an office job doing like audio video stuff for a church. I'm not like religious, but it was a really cool gig. I was doing like audio visuals on the weekends, graphic design for all of their print stuff, print like design and everything like that. And eventually it just got to a point where like I was really good at it, but I was kind of just doing the same thing every week. And I was like, I was working 6 days a week. It was a very like time demanding job, took a lot of my time. And I was like, I have no time to make music. If I just put the skills that I have been using at this job to use doing like music, marketing, social media, stuff like that, I bet I could do it. Like that was kind of my thought process, was like, if I just channel this all towards music and trying to grow a following, I bet I could do it. And then around that time, I got an offer from a friend of mine who he was teaching at a community college in that city in Phoenix. And he was like, hey, I just got a new job, like a new job offer to start teaching at this university, but that means I'm going to have to leave my teaching job at this community college. You're like the only person I can think of that would be appropriate for that. And I was like, well, that's kind of convenient, because I've been like wanting to pivot into like education and content and, sharing knowledge and stuff like that. So I took the gig. I taught for a semester, which was like really rewarding in a lot of ways, and kind of like helped me. It forced me to start recording videos and start thinking about how to explain things to people, instead of just like kind of having it all in my head. And that was shortly after that was around the time that I entered your contest. So then after that, I had quit the other job at the church, and I just started trying to smash out as much content as I could. And it took a lot of trial and error, like to figure out what works on social media. And it's like different things work on different platforms. So I feel like I've got Instagram pretty well figured out. Like I can kind of predict when things are going to do well on there. But YouTube, I can't seem to figure out quite as much unless you just do like gear reviews or plugin reviews. That seems to do really well, but like I don't want to just be a plugin review guy. I think I was talking to you a while back and you were like, you should be a concepts guy. And I was like, yeah, that
Yeah.
seems like a
That's
better.
the way I've always thought of it too. Like companies
Yeah.
and stuff, they'll always email me with like plugins and stuff, and they're like, "Hey, you want to review this plugin?" And I'm like, "Look, you can give me the plugin. I'm not going to promise you that I'm going to make a video on it, but like if I decide to do a video on a deeper concept, like I don't know, like spectral fucking like dipping out of frequencies or some shit to like improve a mix or like some shit like that, then like, you know, for example in that video like Soothe might make it into the video or something like that, or like
Right.
some spectral compressor like M Spectral Dynamics might make it into the video or something.
Yeah.
But I hate doing videos where it's just like, here's this plugin and here are the features, because it doesn't like hold any like deeper weight that can be transferred to literally pretty much anything else. Like I like the idea of making a video that somebody can watch and they can be like, oh, I have like plugins that do this conceptual thing and I can transfer this to my DAW. I can transfer it, like more universal knowledge, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. But yeah, so that then I haven't quite figured out YouTube yet. But I don't know. I don't feel like I really want to necessarily try to figure out YouTube, because I think it was a previous guest on your podcast. It might have been one of the more recent ones, but he was saying like kind of just hone in on one. Oh, it was Saturate.
Thomas.
Yeah, Tom. Yeah. So he was saying like hone in on one thing, like one platform that you feel like you can do well and where your community has kind of gathered, and just kind of like foster that. And I feel like that's pretty much Instagram for me. And, you know, like maybe I'll post a video on YouTube now and then, because that seems to kind of funnel people towards Patreon. But yeah, like Instagram seems to be like where I get the most engagement. I meet people, like people reach out to me. I have cool conversations. I learn stuff. I learn things that I didn't know before. And that's kind of what I'm trying to capture and present, as I like continue to do this, is like I don't know everything. I'm always learning shit. Like I'm always learning new stuff and learning new techniques and learning stuff I didn't know. Like I've just been getting into Max for Live recently. I did get into Max when I was in college, but I hadn't really done anything with it in a while. So I've been diving into that a lot recently and learning new stuff like every day. And people are reaching out to me and like telling me better ways to do things and more efficient ways, like things to save on CPU usage or just do things in a more smart, elegant way. And I love that. I love like being shown better ways to do stuff, because I'm like, I don't know everything.
Yeah, I mean, nobody does. But
Yeah.
I actually really like the device you just made, Tinyspace. It's really cool. If people haven't checked it out yet, it's like I mean, you can explain it probably better than me. What is it?
Yeah, Tinyspace. So it's like it's basically just the audio comes into it, goes through a high pass and a low pass, and then it gets sent into a diffusion network that's made up of like like 20 different delay taps, and each one of those delay taps goes through like 2 all pass filters, and then it gets kind of sent through like a diffusion network of all like being linked to other instances of the all pass filters in that network. Just a reverb, like a really basic reverb, really primitive. But the reason that I made that was because a lot of reverbs, it seems, kind of railroad you into like longer reverb times. Not a lot of them let you get into super short reverb times. The exceptions being maybe the Valhalla Room reverb. I really like that one because you can get like these really short, tight reverbs. But I was kind of getting tired of the sound of that one, so I was like, let me just make another one.
Ubic A, if you haven't checked that out, is really good for this
Which
as
one?
well. Ubic A.
Oh, I have not heard of that, so I'll definitely check that out.
same guy who makes like Zebra and stuff. And also the other thing I use for this is M Convolution Easy, which is a free plugin, and they just have some nice early reflection impulses in there.
Nice. Yeah, you actually, after I made Tinyspace, I was like messing around with the Ableton stock reverb, and I figured out that you actually can kind of get it there. You just have to, there's like the knobs on the right for reflect and diffuse, and if you just turn down diffuse all the way and only have the early reflection section coming through, you can get some pretty nice like short, tight reverbs that like widen the stereo image without losing the punch of whatever you're putting through it. But yeah, Tinyspace is another option for doing that kind of thing. It's something that I like started trying to achieve from hearing Machine Drum, and the way he has these like kind of like immediately before a drop, something will go through like a short reverb and build, and like he'll turn up the wet signal of the drums, like just going into the reverb, and then like snap it back to dry before the drop, and it's like having those like really short, tight reverbs. I was like, damn, that's a cool sound. I wonder how I can like do something like that without using Valhalla Room. But yeah. So designing devices is fun, and it's like once I figured out how all pass filters worked and what they do and all the applications of them, it's like the amount of stuff you can do with all pass filters is just insane. Like I'm working on a spring reverb emulation right now. And the way, like, I don't know if you've ever looked at the frequency response over time for a spring reverb, but it basically, like, if you send an impulse into a spring, it produces like two chirps that can be modeled using like a disperser type thing, a series of all pass filters that smear the phase. And one of them is like really high and it comes down, so it's like a chirp that starts high and ends low. And then the other one is a chirp that starts low and ends high, and they're at different rates. So if you just get those rates dialed in, and then like add a little bit of like plate reverb either within the feedback line or after it, you can get like something that's pretty convincing as a spring reverb emulation, and it uses no convolution. So the one I'm working on right now, I want to be able to have a model of a spring that you can change parameters in real time, like change the so-called tension of the spring, or the like how long the reflections within that spring like take to decay over time. So been messing around with that, and that's a lot of fun.
Speaking of like concept stuff, a concept that I thought of a while ago is like, when you put disperser on something and it makes it sound like sticky or goopy or like kind of wet.
Yeah.
If you look at the like spectral readout of like a water droplet, it goes like boop, and it like has this sort of pitching up thing. And then if you look at like exactly what a bunch of all pass filters are doing in a like specific configuration, they're kind of doing the same thing, like smearing the phase up in that same pattern.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that is why I think that sounds watery to our ear.
Yeah.
I should do a video on that, actually.
That's sick. That'd be a cool concept to look into.
So you live in Mexico City, but you're not from Mexico originally, right? From America originally.
Yeah, from America. I live in Puebla right now.
Nice.
But it's like 2 hours southeast-ish of Mexico City.
Yeah, I've been there before, actually.
Yeah,
I played a show there. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, it's cool here. I like it. And I just I've been working in like headphones for a while, but I just got my studio room treated. Shout out to Juan Carlos Sotelo and Rio Abajo. They like came and treated my studio and did some acoustic wizardry, and basically gave me like a really nice sweet spot in the center of this very tiny room, and it sounds fantastic. They just did it yesterday.
IRL.
Yeah. I really like having a small studio, honestly. Like I've had bigger spaces to work in before. Usually it was like a combo of my bedroom or something. But it was always like I had a shit ton of gear and like, modular and whatever. But like before we moved here, my wife and I moved here to Mexico, I got rid of like most of my stuff. So right now my desk setup is pretty much just like my laptop. I don't have my monitor set up yet, but I probably will do that soon. the guy who helped me with the acoustics told me, like, don't set up anything else yet. Like, just get used to the room as it is and get used to the stereo image, and then start adding your other things to the room, and see how that changes the stereo image and the transient response and everything. But anyway, yeah, like my ideal setup now is just like my laptop, maybe a monitor, my audio interface, and like an iPad as a second monitor. And then I've got an OP1 field that I took with me because it's small enough to take with me anywhere. But honestly, like, even that I don't use as much as I used to. I used to be really huge on making stuff on the OP1. But yeah, I'm like really in the box now, and I feel like it's dialed in my skills in a way that I hadn't quite achieved. Like, just learning, like I learned a lot of stuff in the hardware realm and modular, and I feel like I can now take that and apply it in the software world. And it's really nice to have that flexibility of software, but the knowledge that I gained from doing a lot of modular stuff.
Yeah, I agree. The in the box workflow, I think, for me also is the best. Like, I have some gear that's over to my right here, and I'll use it sometimes if I'm feeling like I want to touch some knobs or buttons or something. But in general, yeah, I mean, my workspace here is the exact same. It's just like keyboard, mouse, screen, monitors, and
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I try to just like zone in and get shit done. I feel like as soon as I start going into hardware, I very quickly can lose like half a day or a day to just like playing around. And while it's an engaging experience, and like from a existential perspective, like, what better way to spend a day than to have your attention fully engrossed by this thing that's like making you think all sorts of like shit, or getting you into a perfect flow state. Like, it's the best human experience you can ask for. But yeah, you don't get a lot done. I
Yeah.
feel like with hardware.
Yeah, it's like a different mindset. I think of, because like I left I downsized my modular to like a very small rig, and I put it in storage, and I just got it back recently. But I honestly don't use it when I produce. But sometimes when I do break it out, it's like it's more of a therapeutic thing than a like work focus, get things done thing. It's just like, yeah, it's just a way to zone out for a couple hours and like not really think too hard, or I don't know. It's like a different kind of flow state.
Yeah, I feel like the workflow, at least for me, is block out times for like hardware fun playtime,
and just record everything.
Yeah, exactly. And then when I'm like,
don't.
actually,
I always record everything.
I do as well.
Yeah.
And then if I later when I'm working, I might be like, oh, I recorded that thing, and then like just drag it into Ableton, take cuts and splice bits out of it and stuff like that.
Yeah, I do that too. I'm a big fan of VCV Rack, just for like another reason I don't love hardware stuff is for ergonomics. Like, if I have a screen in front of me, I've just like got it right in front of me, and I don't have to like crane my neck over and read like a tiny little LCD screen and like reach around cables, and like, I don't know. If I'm just like in a chair looking at a screen, it feels better on my body, especially if I'm going to be doing this for like hours a day, all day, multiple days a week. It's like, you start thinking about ergonomics when you start spending that long in a chair doing the same thing.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's also like not ideal for acoustics. Like, if you ever go into a mastering room, like the real good mastering engineers, they'll have like the tiniest possible desk. Like the dude who treated my room, Matt Davis, you go into his room and it's literally like a desk like the size of a fucking dinner plate, basically. And all that's on it is a tiny little TC Electronics meter, so he can like meter some shit, and then a mouse and keyboard which barely fits on the thing. Like, you can't move the mouse that far without it coming off the edge and stuff. And yeah, I mean, he obviously does that for acoustic benefits. It just sounds better. If you have like a giant desk, it's like turning into a big reflective surface.
Yeah.
So we did, when he came over here to do this room, we did exactly that. He chopped my desk in half. So my desk became half a size, and then he angled it up. So now it like angles up towards the back of the room, which is apparently also helpful.
Yeah, the guy who did my room was telling me the same thing. He was like, because he was like, oh yeah, when you get your monitor in here, like that could mess up your imaging or like what we've dialed in here. And I was like, oh shit. So he said, like, I should probably like get the monitor lower and try to angle it a little bit. But like, you know, I'm so used to my setup that I don't want to do that, but I know that it'll probably be better for the sound. So I'm probably gonna have to bite the bullet and make some changes to my setup. But
Yeah, the main thing I've heard is just to have your screen behind your monitors. So like
yeah,
my monitors are actually like closer to my head than my peripheral screen is. It's like like maybe an inch or two in between and behind my monitors.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of how mine is set up as well. But it's like hard to work with the space because it's so like shallow. So yeah, there's not a whole lot of room to move back because I'm just like I'm so tight, so crammed in here.
True.
Yeah.
So wait, you didn't mention what prompted your move to Mexico.
Yeah, a few reasons. Like one of them was just kind of like I was feeling like a quarter life crisis kind of thing. Like I was born in Phoenix, and I had been living there for 28 years at that point, and I was 27, 20, something like that. And I was just like, I'd been working at that same church, doing that same job, and growing the responsibilities of that job for like 8 years. And I mean, even though I did like the job and I liked the people I worked with and what I was doing there, it was starting to feel like, man, if I keep doing this, I'm gonna just be here forever. So there was like kind of a feeling of like, oh, I got to get out of here. Like I got to do something drastic and change this up. And then the other component of that was my family on my dad's side is from Sonora. Like the part of Sonora from there's like this little town called Altar, which I think is kind of like where we've traced everything back to that between that and Tucson. So like my grandparents spoke Spanish and they were kind of like, you know, why don't you speak Spanish? Even though they never passed it on to my dad, so it's kind of their fault. But yeah, like I grew up kind of having like a knowledge that like there's this part of my family history that is you know, very Mexican, and I would see it like at family gatherings and meeting with like uncles and cousins during like holidays and stuff. But as far as my experience growing up, I kind of had like this very like white suburban kind of like not having that cultural experience at all. So I was like, well, I've always wanted to force myself to learn Spanish and like get a little bit more of this heritage that is a part of my family line and get more familiar with that. So kind of those two things came together, and I was like, well, you know what, we have money saved up and we could probably get residency. So we like looked into the requirements for becoming residents of Mexico, and we're like, yeah, we can make it work. Let's try it. Fuck it. So we did it.
Hell yeah. And you're enjoying it?
Yeah. It's definitely like there are elements of it that are a little bit of a culture shock. And that's to be expected. But so like overall, the people are the people that I've met and the friends I've made here are really generous with their time and effort and willingness to you know make time for us and be our friends. And the food is fantastic. It's just like, you know, it's the coffee. The coffee here is so fucking good. That's like always the first thing I say when people ask about the food and everything. The coffee here is just incredible, and the dairy, it's so good compared to the US.
How's your Spanish?
It's okay. I definitely when I had the guys helping me with my studio yesterday, they were basically kind of like forcing me to use the Spanish that I have so far and like talk to them when we went out to lunch. And I can kind of hang on, but it feels like I'm like barely hanging on for dear life kind of thing. Like I can get by with like daily interactions, you know, like if I go to the store or like if I'm accepting a package or somebody calls me on the phone to like ask where my house is, like I can kind of get through that. And you know, it depends on like their accent and how quickly or slowly they speak. There's a lot of variables there because there's a lot of different types of Spanish. But yeah, like I get by. But definitely, like yesterday after I hung out with those guys and we had lunch and I was like struggling to keep up 100%, I just like booked another lesson because I haven't done any like proper lessons in a while. So I was like, all right, I gotta book more Spanish lessons because I'm, slacking here.
So yeah, what have your strategies been for learning Spanish? Is it mostly like doing these professional lessons with a tutor, or are you using an app like Duolingo or something?
Yeah, so like it's funny because like before I moved here, I was really diligent about practicing because there was a lot of anxiety about I need to be able to like be on my game, like understand what's going on around me. I need to be able to understand everything. I don't want to be left in the dark or like confused or get myself in a situation where I can't communicate. So I had all this anxiety about being understood and being able to understand people. So I was really diligent about practicing before I got here. And then once I got here, I was like, I'm good. Like I can get by. And I kind of stopped practicing so diligently. But yeah, like when I was the most focused, it was a big combination of different strategies. So Duolingo is okay for some things, and for other things it just sucks. It's really good for just like vocab memorization, like memorizing what words mean. Not so great for conversation or grammar, anything like that. But it's okay for it's okay for grammar. Not good for conversation or like the kind of like think on your feet response thing that you have to have when you speak a language. And then for like listening comprehension, I would watch movies in Spanish, and there was this, what was it called? Oh yeah, okay, Language Reactor. It's a language learning extension for browsers, and it basically will load up the 2 subtitle tracks of a movie. So if you find a movie or a TV show that you want to watch that's like in your target language, you can have it set up with hotkeys on your keyboard so that you can have both the English and Spanish or whatever languages you're working with blurred on the screen. So first you have to force yourself to listen to what they're saying, and then you can like press a key and unblur the Spanish, and then you can press another key and unblur the English. And then there's also hotkeys to like rewind to like the part where the previous subtitle like comes on the screen. So you can just kind of like scrub through a show and like pull up each new line and go back and forth between them and unblur, like force yourself to listen, unblur the target language, and then unblur your native language, and like force yourself to try to understand what they're saying and what's going on. And then some flashcards that helps too for like memorization. Listening to like podcasts in Spanish, just kind of like trying to get yourself used to the flow of the language and how it sounds and what sounds are common, so you can like kind of pick up on patterns and things like that. Also just like grammar studying the rules of the grammar and how it works. There's a really great podcast / educational series called Language Transfer, and that one focuses on having your like target language and your like using your native language to understand how things work in the target language. So just kind of like finding the bridge between the 2 languages and the things that are common. Like for example, in Spanish, there's a lot of vocabulary that comes from the Latin roots, and a lot of the words in Spanish, if you know the English counterpart, you can kind of apply a series of rules to find the Spanish word. So like anything that ends in like in English, like for example, what would I say? Now I'm blanking because I'm on the spot. Anything that ends in like CI or like TION in English, for the most part, you can like replace it with a CION. So like
Okay.
like what?
Like
Oh, do you have it?
tension or like hypertension, or no, that
Nah,
ends in
like
sion.
nah.
Like
Hold on.
detention, for example.
Yeah, like something like that. Like uh, celebration, celebración. That's like uh, educación, education, things like that. Like those kinds of words can be kind of transferred over in that way.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
cool. So, I mean, if you just learn a few rules like that, that you instantly have like
Yeah.
fucking a
Yeah.
few thousand words.
Yeah. So, like, yeah, exactly. Like, you just start with those rules, and then it automatically just unlocks like a huge swath of vocabulary that you can use to kind of fumble your way through. And so he starts there in the language transfer and then gets into more of the grammar a bit later on. But like, the gist of it is that you can, like, just after the first few lessons, you can already formulate like relatively complex sentences. There's things that are harder to translate between English and Spanish, like the subjunctive mood, which English does have, but it's not quite
Wait, what does subjunctive mean?
subjunctive. Yeah, so
I know subjective.
yeah, subjunctive is like the way, and I don't necessarily love the way that like English or Spanish teachers always kind of explain this, but it's this basically it's a thing that you can apply to a verb that is used to express things that are maybe less certain, or things that are not. It's like the default when you're expressing something is factual, like this thing is this, like I am here. Like you're expressing statements that are verifiably true. And then the subjunctive mood is when you're expressing maybe something that you hope for, or something that you would like to happen, but it's not necessarily a true thing. So in Spanish, there's a very clear difference in how you express those things. In English, we have that too, but it's not quite as explicit. Like, for example, if I say, you are here, that's very clearly like a factual statement. But if I say, it's important that you be here, that's not a factual statement. That's saying like the part that contains the verb, you be here, that's more of like an expression of like I would like if you were, but it's not like I'm not making a factual statement. So
Gotcha.
yeah, so Spanish has a very like a very well developed and more colorful expression of those hopes and fears, hopes and fears and doubts and things like that than English does. So that's a little bit rough to translate and grasp as an English speaker.
Yeah, whenever I've been to Mexico, people there will explain to me exactly this. They'll be like, yeah, in Spanish, you have like all of these words that mean these like very specific things, whereas in English, every actual thing has a word, and then you have to make these giant connections of all of these things to explain the thing. Whereas, like, for example, like, I don't, this is probably not an example, but like, like going to dinner with some friends to eat a specific type of food, and then going home after and enjoying yourself, like, will be like one singular word in Spanish that means that entire thing, whereas in English you have to be like, I am going to this thing to do XYZ, followed by XYZ, followed by XYZ. It's like you have to make these giant links of like tons of words to express the whole thing.
Yeah, like in Spanish there's words for like to eat breakfast or to eat dinner, like desayunar or cenar. Like those are to eat breakfast and to eat dinner. But we have in English to eat breakfast and to eat dinner. So,
right.
Yeah.
I wanted to also speak about mental health in music. So we chatted about this a little bit on Instagram DMs. And I wanted to ask you about like navigating the pressures of social media metrics. It's definitely like a tough thing to do, and I'm just curious, like, what strategies you use to maintain a healthy balance between your creative output and the external pressure of like numbers and feedback on social media.
Yeah, that's rough because I feel like it's a constant like kind of push and pull. between like if I am taking care of my mental health the most, I am not on social media, and I am probably not making any progress on social media. And it almost feels like I have to take a break from prioritizing my mental health in order to really like dial in the mindset that it takes to start focusing on the numbers and stuff like that. So that's definitely a really tough balance to strike. One thing that really helped me was kind of I don't know, like seeing the social media thing as more of a novel challenge than something that is forcing me to sacrifice integrity or individuality. Because like I used to think of social media as like the antithesis to like what I wanted to do with music. Like, you know, like I of course musicians want to like let the music speak for itself, and like not focus on what people are going to think of it or how to market it or things like that. But as an independent musician, you kind of have to. So my alternative approach was to just kind of think of like, how can I do this in a way that feels like really honest to me and feels like I am putting an authentic version of myself on the internet, without having to sacrifice my integrity. So like I don't want to be, like we talked about, just reviewing random plugins that I don't give a shit about, or like, you know, doing ads basically. So like that's kind of where education comes in, because like I really enjoy teaching. I like explaining concepts to people, and I like kind of seeing the light in their face, in their eyes, when they like grasp a concept and they get excited about being able to harness a new concept to be creative and express themselves. So definitely focusing on that aspect with social media, like sharing stuff that makes people excited and helps them create. That felt authentic to me. That didn't feel like I was sacrificing anything. So having that focus really helped, I think.
Yeah, I feel like it's always important, no matter what you're doing. It could be writing music, it could be doing educational videos and making social media posts or whatever. I feel like it's always important to try and find the middle of that Venn diagram that is like what people can enjoy and what you also enjoy doing. There's like definitely always a middle point between those two things, and it's
Yeah.
really hard to find. It's so easy to either just go completely one way or completely the other.
Yeah.
I feel like finding that middle point is kind of like the modern challenge, I guess, for
Yeah.
artists.
Yeah. And I think another part of it was for me that like kind of just happened to work out pretty well is that like I had spent a lot of years kind of like I was like a real IDM snob for a really long time. Like I was
Same.
I was like really deep in like way more experimental stuff, and I was like, you know, kind of active in my local like noise music scene. Like I would go to noise shows and like these like modular meetups and stuff. Like awesome people, awesome events, but like not a lot of public appeal. So I had kind of like I had spent all this time, and like in college I studied audio production, but the emphasis was in like sound design and electronic music and electroacoustic stuff. So I got really into like the older like 20th century experimental stuff like John Cage and Stockhausen and like that kind of stuff. So I had like kind of been on this road of like as much as I love that stuff, I'll affectionately say I had kind of disappeared up my own asshole for a bit. And then a few years ago, maybe at this point like no, like like 3-ish years ago, um some like more EDM focused stuff had started to pop up in my Spotify feed. And I was just like, oh shit, I've been like ignoring this whole little scene this whole time. And they have matured so much since I listened to EDM, like back in the Skrillex, like Scary Monsters and Nice Sprites days.
Hey,
They
that,
like,
that EP went hard, man.
yeah, it did. Yeah. But like there had been this whole branching out of like different styles and different subgenres, and people had really dialed in like intensely satisfying sound design techniques that I feel like they had started to out sound design the IDM people.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Rhythm producers, in my opinion,
Yeah.
hands down,
It's
some of the
fucking
best
crazy.
producers on the planet. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I feel like I had this exact same experience, like, but it happened for me about when Skrillex put out Scary Monsters and Nice Sprites. I was like super into IDM. I was like, IDM's where all the shit is. EDM's bullshit. And at that point, when Skrillex put out that EP, was when I was like, all right, this like I can see this like going somewhere for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yes.
I mean, like the like efficacy of dubstep producers at the moment is, in my opinion, they put like every other genre of producer to shame. And I don't say that like, I mean, I myself produce dubstep. I don't say that like speaking about my own skills. I say that like from working with other people that are like heavy dubstep producers, like AU5, Virtual Riot, etc.
Oh
It's
God,
like
yeah.
they're just insane. They're fucking nuts.
Yeah, it's wild. Yeah, so like I had that little light bulb moment. I was like, oh fuck, like this is where it's at. This is what I got to get into. So I feel like I kind of lucked out in having this like this moment of like deciding to put all of my focus in music and trying to like actually grow a social following, and also kind of like freshly discovering how much cool shit is going on in the EDM community all at once. So like it's all fresh in my mind, and I have a lot of like new stuff to share as I'm discovering it. So I like it kind of all came together in like a perfect storm of just like wanting to learn stuff that I had like been ignoring or like not really paying attention to, and then also like having the desire to grow on social media and to teach people at the same time.
The way I would describe the difference, I think, between how I thought about sound design as an IDM producer versus what it is that I appreciate so much about dubstep production at the moment is I feel like when I was doing IDM stuff, I would just like run everything through granulizers, run everything through like tons of plugins, create all this like very textural shit, and then essentially create a collage of like layering all of this textural shit together to make a beat.
Yeah.
Whereas the thing that I appreciate so much about dubstep producers is they'll figure out how to like do so many of these processes in just a much more refined, simple, elegant way inside like a single patch, if that makes sense. And that to me is impressive. It's just super efficient.
Yeah, and also from the mixing, like the mix down perspective, like the way that producers these days are like pushing so far into the loudness zone, it's like it's equal parts like EDM and dubstep and those kinds of styles are equal parts engineering feat and artistry feat, like all in one. So like being able to see that and see like the level of some of these producers, like you said, AU5 and Virtual Riot, like it's insane how much like the artistry and the engineering are coming together in this perfect storm to make like the most mind-bending shit imaginable.
Yeah, agreed. So another thing we talked about was the tension between producing high quality content and the pressure to feed the content machine.
Yeah.
How do you balance this, especially when the numbers favor like quick, low effort posts?
Yeah, like I was just thinking about this recently because like I've been doing a lot of more Max focused, Max MSP, Max for Live stuff. And it's funny because like I'll post something about that on Instagram and it just bombs like, 5,000.
Because nobody understands it.
Yeah, like 5,000 views on a video, whereas like a video of me like playing Sandstorm on a DJ controller like with the pads has like almost 1 million views at this point. It's like God, but yeah, it's just like I think my strategy is to just try not to care too much and just make what is interesting to me and hope that it works. And that, that's not a very targeted strategy at all, but and that's probably why I don't have an insane amount of followers. But yeah, I'm trying teach about stuff that I am interested in and share knowledge about stuff and demonstrate stuff that I am learning at the moment. And the only way to do that, the only way to keep coming up with new content, at least for me, is to continue making music outside of the spotlight of content and continue exploring. And then that inevitably forces me to find either new ways to do things or discover new things. And then those things that I discover or figure out, or like new techniques that I hone in on, that makes me excited, and it makes me excited enough to share it in content. And usually it works out. But like I said, it doesn't always work out, like especially with the Max stuff. Like that's just a big swing and a miss on the content side, I feel. But I'm still going to share it, you know?
I think the reason why is because like if somebody sees you playing Sandstorm on a DJ controller, almost everybody on the planet understands exactly what's going on. They're
Right.
like, okay, he's pressing some buttons, it's making Sandstorm, which everyone knows, which is a meme.
Yeah.
And it's funny and it's like quick to understand. And then because that understanding process happens in such a quick span of time, boom, you get the dopamine, you like it. Whereas
and
with
you share
Max
it,
stuff.
and that's the thing, is they share it too, because like their friends will get it.
Right. Whereas with the Mac stuff, it's like you see that, and the questions that at least start popping into my head is like, what is this? Why should I care?
Yeah.
What is going on here? Like, I have no idea what I'm looking at. And I feel like the process of getting somebody to like something like that is that you just have to explain it in such a way using concepts they already understand so that they can quickly grasp this new thing and then enjoy it that way. Like, for example, Auteka, when they used to do sets, they would play from Max MSP and they were on stage like just, huddled, behind laptops. And so you couldn't really tell what they were doing. So what they would do is like do a spread, like a keynote performance basically at the start of the set to explain to people what they're looking at.
Yeah.
And I think that probably the reason they did that is to help people enjoy it on a deeper level.
Yeah, like because and I've heard you talk about this on here, and I've experienced it myself, especially with live performance. Because I used to do, when I was trying to play more shows when I lived in Phoenix, I would usually like dial in a modular patch and like have all this crazy stuff set up in Ableton and try to like have it so that I can still do stuff live that is affecting the sound and have some element of unpredictability of the live performance and some element of chance, so it wouldn't necessarily, like there was room for error, and still try to like come out on top. But like nobody knows what I've set up. Like nobody knows what my patch is doing. Nobody cares about like my crazy Ableton setup and what effects I'm triggering and what, MIDI routings I have going on to what synths or whatever. Like it's not like an easy thing for the audience to see and think like, oh, cool,
Yeah, I think that it's our job. It's on us as artists to explain that stuff so that they can enjoy it on the same level that we enjoyed making it or creating or playing it.
Yeah.
And I think, there's a bunch of ways to solve that problem. Like you can put a camera right above your gear that like goes to the LED wall or projector or whatever to show people what you're doing. You can at the start, like Auteka did, explain what's going on so people can enjoy watching you do the thing that you just explained you were going to do and stuff like that.
And I'd say like in a way, like if you have a DJ set and you've got like lighting stuff and visuals and everything hooked up to it, like that's a way for people to connect with what's coming out of the speakers in a heightened way. Like it's maybe not in a way of understanding what went into it or how you made it, but it's like it's something that can enhance the experience in a certain way that helps people connect with it more. So I think that's
so.
like a better way to, or that's one way to think about that.
Yeah, I agree as well. I actually had that experience watching Amon Tobin's Izam for the first, like, I only seen it once actually, but yeah, when I watched that, I was like, I didn't really like the album that much. I love it now, but when it first came out and I listened to it, I was like, it's, I mean, a little on the verge of too experimental for me. It's kind of like a little crazy. A lot of it just seems like kind of noise layered Foley type stuff.
Hmm.
But when I saw the show, I was like, "Oh, I get it completely now." Because like, every single layer of Foley and every single sound that he'd made, like, had a correlating visual with it.
Yeah.
And I had the same experience with Ortecha's Grant's Graph. I don't know if you
Hmm.
remember that
Yeah,
video
yeah,
from way back in the day,
totally.
but
Yeah,
same deal. I heard the song and I was like, I mean, it's pretty noisy and breakcore for my liking. But when I saw the video, I was like, "Oh, every single sound in here is intentional."
yeah,
And I think when that I think that's the part of my brain where it clicks, where I'm like, okay, realizing that it's all like intentional and that everything was supposed to be in that place, like, makes me appreciate it much more than if it just sounds kind of noisy and messy.
right. Yeah, yeah. And I think I don't know, like just a well-tuned AV set, like it's just so good. Like um, I saw Tipper at Lightning in a Bottle earlier this year, and that was like the first time I'd seen Tipper. But like the visuals of that elevated it extremely well. And then the year before that, I saw LS Dream at the same festival, and I uh, had at that point, uh, like I had not been a huge fan of his albums, but then seeing the live show with everything just like perfectly tuned and like set up with the lasers and the lights and everything, and like seeing the crowd get down to it like in such a pure way, like I don't know, it just like it just elevated it so much, and it was a lot of fun.
True. Yeah. Well, I mean, Tipper actually doesn't do synced AV sets.
Oh yeah,
Like, he
no,
just,
they're not synced. Yeah, it's just like it, but the visuals there like still elevate it in a certain way, you
yeah,
know.
100%.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's interesting. I've talked to him about this before, about like doing synced AV sets, and he said that they feel a little too like sterile. He's like, he likes to keep what he calls the chaos monkey
yeah.
involved.
Yeah, I get
And
that. It feels a little more fluid in a
yeah, and
certain
I mean,
way.
it can also you can get these kind of crazy moments of coincidence through doing that as well, which
Yeah,
can add to this, I don't know, more like transcendental, like godlike experience almost.
yeah, totally.
Have you ever read any of Cal Newport's books?
No, no, I haven't.
It's like a guy who talks about like productivity and stuff. I'm listening to one at the moment called Slow Work: How to Avoid the Art of Burnout Whilst like Getting a Lot Done, or something like that. Uh, but he contrasts today's frantic pace of work with how historical figures like Copernicus and Newton worked.
Hmm.
And basically, like, these scientists, they dedicated years of their discoveries uh, embodying like a really slow approach that allowed ideas to mature fully. And he suggests that knowledge work today would benefit from a similar rhythm, with dedicated focus periods balanced by time for rest and idea incubation and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Uh, and I feel like, uh, yeah, we have basically the opposite of that at the moment.
yeah,
It's like,
yeah, totally.
you feel like you can't rest at all. Everyone's
Yeah,
working like a billion
yeah.
hours a
Like
day.
if you rest, you're gonna get left behind or like miss an opportunity or something.
Yeah, there
Um,
were years in like Copernicus and Newton's life where they took like multiple years off and did nothing and just like chilled, or months at a time where they did nothing. But like,
mhm.
at the end of their life, their work was so meaningful, and changed humanity, that we don't think about like those many days or weeks or
Yeah,
months that they took as breaks. So yeah, what do you feel about this kind of stuff?
yeah. I totally feel that. Like like with producing, with just like the writing process of music, I feel like every time I make a new track or something, I'll frantically work on one track for like 2-3 weeks or something and try to get it like as close to the finish line as possible. And then after that, it's either done or like pretty close to done. Like maybe it needs a one or two passes more after that. But um, I will think like, all right, this one's done. Time to start on the next one. And then I like try to start on another one, and I just cannot get in that same flow state. And then I inevitably like end up and this kind of comes back to the like mental health aspect. I'll like end up thinking like, I got lucky with that last one. That was it. Like it's fucking over now. Never gonna do it. Never gonna write another good song again. And then I'll like, take a break either voluntarily or involuntarily because I just like can't come up with anything. And then that time spent away from the writing process, either just like, I don't know, like exploring sounds or reading an unrelated book, going to a museum, just like living, doing life stuff. But like doing that stuff then seems to like refill the battery to be able to make something new and fresh after that period of inactivity, or inactivity in air quotes, because like it's not really inactive. Like your brain is still processing stuff and having new experiences to integrate into whatever you create. But yeah, I definitely can relate to that like the inactive period or the rest period to like let the ideas kind of just percolate, definitely helps.
Yeah, agreed. Well, hey man, I appreciate you coming on the podcast. It's good to like finally have a proper chat with you.
Yeah,
And
dude.
where can people find you on the internet?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram at Undulae Music. That's Undulae. That's just like the word undulate without the T. And that's on Instagram, YouTube, Patreon, same tag. But yeah, that's where you can find my stuff. Yeah,
Awesome.
that's
All right,
me.
man. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.